propaganda, the hate on Caitlin Clark. They put this graphic up last night. You're shitting me, right? Caitlin Clark will never win the MVP. I'm starting to wonder. Brick Center, I'm starting to wonder. Are you kidding me? She's not even on here. Look, you guys know I'm a huge Olivia Miles fan. I am. I'm unapologetic about it. I don't give a shit. Come on. I mean, come on. Come on. Paige Beckers? Come on. What are we doing? What are we doing that Caitlin Clark is not on that graphic?
Look at that graphic. Really look at it. The WNBA put out their MVP race tracker last night during the Fever Fire game, and Caitlin Clark isn't even on it. Not third, not fourth, not mentioned at all. Meanwhile, she just dropped her fourth career triple-double with 26 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists in a dominant 112-98 victory. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. But here's what makes this even more absurd. In that same game, Clark became the fastest player in league history to reach 1,500 career assists, 78 games. The previous record holder, Sabrina Ionescu, at 97 games. That's a 19-game difference. In a 34-game season, that's more than half a season faster, and she's not on the MVP graphic.
The MVP run is on. 26 points, 5 of 9, 14 of 17 from the free throw line, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals, a block, and a partridge in a pear tree. Damn. Got to be more careful. Shout out Ben Daniel for the D's-am. For my use of, I copyrighted the damn on that. Sophie Cunningham, 13 points, 4 of 6, 3 of 5 from three-point range. She continues to burn them down from 3. 3 assists, 2 steals. Kelsey Mitchell, 26, 9 for 21. She started out slow. 4 of 12 from three-point range. Yikes. 2 assists.
Over her last 5 games heading into last night, Clark averaged 29.4 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, a steal and a half, and a block per game. Her three-point shooting during that stretch, 48.7%. Those are historically elite numbers. Those are numbers that in any other season, in any other context, would have someone leading every MVP conversation. The Portland Fire came into this game with 2 previous wins over Indiana this season. They're not a pushover team anymore. They run, they score, they create problems. Stephanie White even acknowledged after the game that Portland is a handful. This wasn't a cupcake opponent. This was a legitimate playoff-caliber team that Clark dismantled systematically. Watch Sophie Cunningham in this game. 13 points on 4 of 6 shooting, 3 of 5 from downtown. But more importantly, watch what happens when she hits that three-pointer in Portland. The crowd boos her mercilessly. She's become public enemy number 1 for a certain segment of WNBA fans. And her response? She throws up the 3 sign right in their faces. No apology, no backing down, just pure competitive fire. This is exactly the kind of personality the WNBA desperately needs to promote. Players who aren't afraid of the moment. Players who engage with the crowd, even when that crowd is hostile. Players who understand that sports entertainment requires villains and heroes, tension and release, drama and resolution. The league should be building storylines around this dynamic. Instead, they're pretending it doesn't exist. After the game, Cunningham gave her shoes to a young fan in the stands. The girl's mother was in tears. It's a small moment, but it's the kind of moment that creates lifelong fans. That little girl will remember Sophie Cunningham giving her those shoes for the rest of her life. She'll tell that story for decades. She'll bring her own kids to WNBA games someday because of that interaction. This is how you build a fan base. Not through corporate marketing campaigns or forced narratives. Through authentic moments of connection between players and fans. through players who understand their platform and use it to create memories. Cunningham gets it. Clark gets it. The question is whether the league's decision-makers get it. Kelsey Mitchell finished with 26 points on 9 of 21 shooting. She started slow, went 4 of 12 from 3, but found her rhythm as the game progressed. That's veteran composure. That's a player who understands how to work through a rough shooting start and still impact winning. But the real revelation in this game was Lexi Hall. 15 points on 7 of 8 shooting, 3 rebounds, 2 steals. Her offensive bag is getting deeper every game. She's not just a spot-up shooter anymore. She's cutting, she's finishing at the rim, she's making reads in transition. Hull is developing into a legitimate third scoring option for this Fever team, and that's terrifying for the rest of the league. When you have Clark running the show, Mitchell providing secondary creation, and now Hull emerging as a consistent threat, that's a big three. That's a core that can win playoff series. That's a foundation worth building around. The game itself showcased everything that makes this Indiana team dangerous. They scored 112 points on the road against a team that had beaten them twice already this season. They moved the ball. They got to the free throw line 17 times for Clark alone, and they defended well enough in crucial moments. Portland made a late run. They always do. They're built for pace and chaos. But Indiana had answers every time Portland threatened. That's maturity. That's a team that's figured out how to win close games, how to manage runs, how to execute when it matters. This isn't the same Fever team that stumbled through the first half of last season. That buzzer beater to end the first quarter. Clark launching from 30 feet with a defender draped all over her, the ball arcing through the air. Nothing but net as time expires. That's not just skill, that's audacity. That's a player who believes every shot is going in, who operates without fear of failure, who understands that greatness requires taking risks that would terrify most players. The WNBA has spent years begging for a player with this kind of star power, a player who can create highlights that transcend the sport, a player who casual fans will tune in specifically to watch, a player who moves television ratings and sells tickets in opposing arenas. They finally have that player, and their response is to leave her off MVP graphics. So let's address the elephant in the room. Why isn't Caitlin Clark on that MVP graphic? The numbers support her candidacy. The impact metrics support her candidacy. The eye test supports her candidacy. What's the actual argument against her? Some will point to team record, but Indiana is firmly in playoff position and trending upward. Some will point to efficiency, but her true shooting percentage has climbed steadily throughout the season. Some will point to defense, but she's averaging 2 steals per game over this recent stretch, and her defensive rating has improved dramatically since the All-Star break. The honest answer is that there's a segment of the WNBA establishment that simply doesn't want Caitlin Clark to be the face of the league. They don't want the rookie to overshadow the veterans. They don't want the narrative to center around one player when they've spent years trying to promote parity. They don't want to admit that sometimes, once in a generation, a player comes along who's just better than everyone else. This isn't speculation. This is pattern recognition. When a player puts up historic numbers and gets left off MVP graphics, when a player breaks assist records by 19 games and barely gets mentioned in award conversations, when a player sells out arenas on the road and still faces skepticism from league media, that's not an accident. That's a choice. The WNBA has a decision to make. They can embrace their biggest star and ride that wave to unprecedented popularity and revenue. Or they can continue trying to manage narratives and control storylines and pretend that Clark is just another good player in a league full of good players. One path leads to growth. The other path leads to stagnation masked as equity. One path acknowledges that star power drives sports business. The other path pretends that all players should receive equal attention regardless of performance or marketability. Look at what happened last night. A triple-double, a historic assist milestone, a dominant road victory, a buzzer-beating logo 3. All the ingredients for a signature MVP performance. And the league's response was to promote a graphic that didn't include her name. That tells you everything you need to know about where the WNBA's priorities lie. And it raises a fundamental question about the league's future. Because if you can't recognize greatness when it's staring you in the face, if you can't promote your most marketable star, if you can't build around the player who's actually moving the needle, then what exactly are you doing? The Fever are winning. Clark is producing at an elite level. The storylines are writing themselves. Sophie Cunningham is giving the league must-see television moments. Lexi Hall is emerging as a complementary star. Everything is falling into place for Indiana to become the WNBA's flagship franchise. The only question is whether the league will get out of its own way long enough to let it happen. Based on that MVP graphic, the answer appears to be no. And that's not just disappointing. That's organizational malpractice. That's leaving money on the table. That's choosing ideology over reality. Caitlin Clark just posted her 4th career triple-double in 78 games. She's the fastest player in history to 1,500 assists. She's shooting nearly 50% from 3 over her last 5 games. She's leading a playoff team and creating highlights every single night. If that's not MVP caliber performance, then the award has lost all meaning. And if the WNBA can't recognize that, then they don't deserve the star they've been given. What do you think? Does Clark belong in the MVP conversation, or are the numbers misleading? Drop your take in the comments. Hit that subscribe button, and let's see if the league finally wakes up before this season ends.